History remembers its conquerors, but it also remembers its enforcers. These are the men whose names became symbols of fear, discipline, and absolute authority. In the turbulent world of 16th century Europe, one man stood at the very center of empire, war, and repression. His name was Fernando Álvarez de Toledo, but history knows him better as the Duke of Alba. To some, he was Spain's greatest general, a brilliant military mind who never lost a battle. To others, he was a ruthless tyrant, an iron fist crushing all dissent. This is the story of the man who became the symbol of imperial power and the high price of order. Fernando Álvarez de Toledo was born in 1507 into one of Spain's most powerful and ancient noble families. From his earliest days, war was not just a possibility, it was his destiny. Orphaned as a child, he was raised by his grandfather, who ensured the young Fernando was steeped in the harsh realities of military life. He wasn't just taught how to fight, he was taught how to command. His education was a masterclass in military discipline, strategic thinking, and above all, absolute loyalty to the Spanish crown. This was a critical time for Spain. Under the Habsburg dynasty, the nation was rapidly transforming into the world's first global superpower. Its empire stretched from the Americas to the Philippines, its armies dominated Europe, and its wealth, drawn from the New World, was staggering. But an empire of this scale needed to be controlled, defended, and expanded. It needed sharp, reliable weapons. Fernando Álvarez de Toledo was forged to be one of its sharpest. At just 16, he was already on the battlefield, and by his early 20s he was a seasoned commander. His path was set. He would spend his entire life in service to the Spanish Empire, shaping its destiny and earning his formidable reputation. For over half a century, the Duke of Alba served two of Spain's most powerful rulers, the Holy Roman Emperor Charles V and his son, King Philip II. He was their most trusted military instrument. Wherever the Spanish Empire faced a threat, Alba was sent to neutralize it. He fought decisive campaigns across the continent, from the sun-drenched fields of Italy to the forests of Germany and the plains of France. He defended against the Ottoman advance in the Mediterranean and battled the French for dominance in Europe. In every campaign, his reputation grew. He was known for his meticulous planning, his tactical genius, and his unshakable composure in the heat of battle. But he was also known for his cold, calculating nature. He was relentless, a man who saw military objectives with absolute clarity and pursued them without hesitation. While other commanders might be known for their charisma or daring, Alba was known for his efficiency and his chilling lack of sentimentality. He was not there to win hearts and minds. He was there to win wars, and he did, again and again. At the core of the Duke of Alba's character was a rigid, unyielding belief in order. For him, rebellion was not a political disagreement or a cry for justice. It was a crime against God and the king, a cancer that had to be cut out before it could spread. He believed that discipline was the foundation of society, and he was prepared to enforce it by any means necessary. His methods were direct and brutal. He imposed harsh laws, established military courts that bypassed local justice, and used public executions to make terrifying examples of those who defied Spanish authority. His own soldiers feared his strict discipline as much as his enemies feared his battlefield tactics. He demanded perfection and punished failure mercilessly. But this same iron will earn him the complete trust of his monarchs. Charles V and Philip II knew that when they gave Alba a command, he would carry it out to the letter, no matter how difficult or unpopular. It was this unwavering trust and his reputation for ruthless efficiency that would lead him to the Netherlands and to the most infamous chapter of his life. In 1567, the Spanish Netherlands, what we now know as Belgium and the Netherlands, was in open revolt. Tensions had been simmering for years. A potent mix of religious conflict, with Protestantism gaining ground against Catholic rule, combined with local nobles resisting the centralizing power of the Spanish king. The unrest finally exploded into iconoclastic riots where mobs stormed churches, smashing statues and religious art. For King Philip II, this was an act of heresy and treason. His response was to send his most formidable enforcer. He sent the Duke of Alba. Alba arrived not as a diplomat, but as a general at the head of a veteran army. His mission was simple: crush the rebellion and restore absolute Spanish control. He immediately established a special court called the Council of Troubles. The Dutch, however, gave it a different, more fitting name, the Blood Council. The council became a tool of systematic repression. Thousands were arrested and their property confiscated. Hundreds were publicly executed, including some of the Netherlands' most prominent noblemen. Alba's message was brutally clear: no one was safe from the king's wrath. Fear descended upon the region. The open rebellion was silenced and a grim, forced order was restored. But it came at a terrible cost. While the Duke of Alba's campaign of terror succeeded in the short term, it was a strategic catastrophe. His brutality didn't extinguish the desire for freedom. It poured gasoline on the fire. The executions of respected nobles turned them into martyrs and galvanized the opposition. The widespread fear and repression forged a new sense of Dutch identity, united against a common, hated enemy. What was meant to be a swift police action to crush a rebellion instead ignited the 80 Years' War, a brutal, protracted conflict that would drain Spain's resources for decades. The Dutch resistance, led by figures like William of Orange, grew stronger, more organized, and more determined. Alba, the general who had never lost a battle, found himself unable to win the war. The rebellion he was sent to end had become an unstoppable revolution. In 1573, after 6 years of bloodshed, he was recalled to Spain. He had militarily pacified the region, but in doing so, he had lost it for the empire forever. His mission was a failure. The Dutch revolt would ultimately lead to the birth of an independent Dutch republic, a new European power forged in the fires of Alba's repression. To this day, Fernando Álvarez de Toledo remains one of history's most polarizing figures. His legacy is viewed through two completely different lenses. In Spain, especially during his time, he was revered as a loyal servant of the crown, a brilliant military commander, and a defender of the Catholic faith. He was the embodiment of Spanish strength and imperial will. Statues were erected in his honor, and his victories were celebrated as triumphs for the empire. But in the Netherlands, his name is synonymous with tyranny. He is the ultimate historical villain, a symbol of brutal foreign oppression and religious persecution. The black legend of Spanish cruelty, which painted the empire as uniquely barbaric, found its perfect poster child in the Iron Duke. He represented an entire age of empire, where power was asserted through violence and obedience was enforced not by consent, but by the sword. His story is a stark reminder that one nation's hero is often another nation's monster. The Duke of Alba died in 1582, still serving the Spanish king, this time leading the conquest of Portugal. By the time of his death, the world he had fought so hard to preserve was already beginning to change. The absolute power of monarchs was being challenged. The devastating religious wars were forcing nations to reconsider the relationship between faith and state. Alba's methods, his belief in order through absolute, unquestioning force, belonged to an older world. But his impact was undeniable. The Dutch Republic he inadvertently helped create would become a major economic and cultural power, while Spain would begin its slow, long decline, partly exhausted by the very wars Alba had fought. Fernando Álvarez de Toledo was not a man of mercy. He was a man of order, duty, and empire. His life was a testament to the idea that power could be maintained through fear, and his actions force us to confront a difficult and timeless question. Can control built on a foundation of terror ever truly last? Or does it inevitably sow the seeds of its own destruction? Thank you for watching. If you found this journey into the life of the Iron Duke interesting, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the complex figures that shaped our world. See you next time.